Guys, there's a couple things I never thought I would ever say in my life. Here's one of them. I never thought I would ever say the sentence, I'm glad Bush won in American politics. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Well, I'm really happy that Bush won. Never thought I'd utter that sentence in my life. But 2020 sure is a year of firsts. Because check this out. Cori Bush won last night, y'all. Cori Bush won. Here's the headline from the AP. Protest leader Bush ousts 20-year U.S. Representative Clay in Missouri. Cori Bush, a one-time homeless woman who led protests following a white police officer's fatal shooting of a black 18-year-old in Ferguson, ousted longtime Rep. William Lacey Clay Tuesday in Missouri's Democratic primary. That's what the AP had to say about this. And I will say this. I'm glad that in that first paragraph, they highlighted her activism. I'm glad for that. But Cori Bush won last night. And check it out. There were some other victories. There was another victory last night, too. Rashida Tlaib. She also won. Here's the headline there. Squad, quote, member Rashida Tlaib defeats primary challenger Brenda Jones. Now, here's what's interesting. Rashida Tlaib, also the person who booed Hillary Clinton and has not endorsed Joe Biden. It's almost like the Democratic establishment is completely disconnected from what the base wants, and they don't care. They don't have any plans to rectify that situation. Now, I'm glad Rashida Tlaib won. I'm glad Cori Bush won. And you might be thinking, Ron, you're not thrilled with electoral politics in general right now, and that's an understatement. You also think that we need a vehicle outside of the Democratic Party, and we need a new political party altogether on the electoral level. So, why are you still simultaneously, on the same note, happy about these victories? Well, I'll tell you, because the reality, and I know some people will disagree with this, but the reality, at least the way I see it, is that as far as the lefty world is concerned, our numbers are still relatively small. Now, I know some people dispute that, and I understand where they're coming from. Well, gee, Ron, how can you say that when Medicare for All is favored by 70% of Americans, when, all of these policies are favored by such a large percentage of Americans? Such a large percentage of Americans want free college, and they want all these things. And most of the Democratic base is for a Green New Deal and is for all these policies. Well, because I think that there's only so large of a percentage out of all those people that want those policies, there's still only so many who recognize that we need true radical status quo shifting change to get there. I think there's still a large percentage out of that base that still thinks we can just kind of go along with the status quo and get to those places. And we can't. The status quo needs to shift because you have a two-party duopoly that is owned by the donor class that is actively working against all of those things happening. It's not a dispute between principles. It's not a compromise to beat Republicans. It is none of those things. That's been proven time and time again. You can look over in Kentucky, where they had a pro-Trump Democrat versus an actual progressive. They pumped millions into making sure that pro-Trump Democrat beat the progressive. And now that pro-Trump Democrat is trailing by 17 points against Mitch McConnell. The Democratic establishment's first priority is making sure any type of progressive doesn't get anywhere near power. So it's still a good thing when it happens, whether a D is next to their name or a G is next to their name or whatever else is next to their name, because it expands the tent. And I hate using that verbiage because I know that's stuff Nancy Pelosi says. But in this case, it expands the tent of people who recognize the necessity for status quo shifting change. And my hope is that alternative vehicle to the Democratic Party is still built. And then what you have is either the Rashida Tlaibs and Cori Bushes that have already gotten in, they move over. They join Movement for a People's Party. Or alliances start to form where you have the actual progressives who have infiltrated the Democratic Party aligning with a new political vehicle. And that's kind of how the Democratic Party will either have to change some itself, or in some cases, when you look at other chapters in American history, will just cease to exist, will over the course of time become dead in the water. And that's what happened to the Whigs. It was about a 6-year turnaround where the Whigs just kind of went bye-bye because there were a bunch of movements outside of there that weren't happy with them. And eventually that became what we know today as the Republicans. The Republicans and Democrats used to be one party. And whoops, technically that still hasn't changed. So happy about those victories. It's definitely a win. But we still got to recognize that most of the things that need to be done are straight up outside of electoral politics. It is outside of electoral politics. We need a rent strike. We need a general strike. We still need all those things to happen. But there's some news on the electoral front for you.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and